What you don't know about the soul's journey after death. Thoth exposes the shocking truth. The room was thick with tension, an electric hum hanging in the air as if all time had paused. Outside, storm clouds swirled ominously, casting shadows that danced like anxious spirits against the windows. It was here, in this airy atmosphere, that an ancient secret was about to be unveiled. The legend of Thoth, the god of wisdom, had whispered through the ages. But now, he had risen from the depths of obscurity to lay bare the astonishing truth about what happens after we die. Flickering candlelight illuminated the tattered scrolls piled upon the table, each one more peculiar than the last. Symbols curled and twisted, like vines from a long-forgotten jungle, begging to be understood. Suddenly, an inexplicable sound echoed through the stillness, causing a shiver to race down the spines of those present. A low, resonating thrum like a heartbeat from beyond the grave pulsed through the room, wrapping each listener in an invisible cloak of dread. As if summoned by their fear, the air thickened, a palpable presence enveloping them. Then came the first strange revelation, the idea that souls experience time differently after death, spiraling backward and forward at a dizzying pace. Could it be that moments of joy and sorrow were not trapped in the past, but danced freely in a chaotic kaleidoscope of existence? The mere thought sent minds reeling. What if the pain of loss was a mere flicker in the vastness of time? What if joy awaited to be recollected, just a thought away? The implications twisted like a knife in the heart, igniting fear and curiosity in equal measure. As the tension mounted, the questions turned darker. What if some souls were not freed at all? Rumors spoke of those who lingered, trapped in the shadows, unable to move on. The collective gasp from the audience was a spark in the night. Eyes widened, breaths held, the notion was chilling. Who could they be? What crimes kept them chained? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you are there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. And just when it seemed the darkness would consume them, a glimmer of hope flickered through the fears. Thoth spoke of a way out, a journey of understanding that could lead even the most tortured souls back to the light. The thrill of a potential escape ignited a fire in them, holding them captive as their breaths became shallow with anticipation. But the ominous shadows from earlier returned, whispering secrets of those who had failed the journey. Would it take every ounce of courage to confront the unknown? Or would they find themselves ensnared in an endless cycle, forever searching, forever lost? The questions clawed at their minds, drawing them deeper into a mystery that felt as ancient as time itself. The room felt smaller, the walls seemingly closing in as Thoth stood at the center of the chaos, his presence commanding and enigmatic. Candlelight flickered more wildly now, casting jagged shadows that twisted in rhythm with the collective heartbeat of those gathered. They were all entranced, teetering on the edge of revelation and dread, as the god of wisdom prepared to elaborate on the tangled web of souls. What you fear most is merely a reflection of what you don't understand, Thoth declared, his voice echoing through the thick air. Every ear strained to catch his words, every breath hung in anticipation. The thick silence that followed was like a taut string waiting to snap. Then, with a sweep of his hand, he revealed the next layer of his grim wisdom. The realms of the dead are not simply black or white, light or shadow. There are shades of grey, layers of deception that bind souls, chaining them to their earthly ties. A wrong decision, an unrepented sin can trap them. The arena of the soul's suffering is vast. Gasps rippled through the crowd as a wave of unrestrained fear washed over them. Each whispered conversation fell silent again, replaced only by the crackling of the candles and the pulse of the storm outside. Thoth's eyes glinted like polished obsidian as he continued, "Those who linger, who cannot find peace, are not simply lost. They are searching and they are furious." Suddenly, a cold wind rushed through the room, snuffing out several candles in a snap, leaving them in complete darkness. Murmurs of disbelief emerged from the crowd, a shudder of dread coursing through their ranks. The oppressive silence hung heavily, broken only by the creaking of the floor beneath their feet. As the flickering light returned, Thoth's silhouette was framed against the wall, a daunting figure standing before them, shrouded in an aura of ancient power. "There exists a ritual," he said, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "One that can open the doorways between realms. If performed correctly, it can guide the lost back to the light. But beware, it requires a sacrifice." A murmur of confusion swept through the gathering, thick with uncertainty. What kind of sacrifice? The pressing questions became more urgent, gnawing at their senses. The air crackled with accusation. Was that fear? Or something worse? The energy in the room shifted, tension morphing into suspicion toward one another as paranoia blossomed. "What do you mean?" One brave soul ventured, her voice trembling. "What must we sacrifice?" Thoth stepped closer, his gaze piercing into their collective soul. To connect with the lost, one must be prepared to confront their own darkness. Fear must be faced, pain must be felt. You must be willing to bear their burden, even if it means risking your own soul. Then, just as the weight of his words sunk in, a deafening crack thundered outside, a jagged line of lightning slicing through the darkened sky. For a moment, they were all blinded, and in that cleft of light, each saw a glimpse of what awaited them on this path, a chilling vision of shadows reaching towards them, desperate and hungry. With the light gone, the darkness pressed in once more. Were they truly prepared for this journey? The uncertainty left them in a dizzying spiral. Fear clutched at their hearts while a fierce seed of determination took root. But as they stood there, wrestling with their thoughts, they knew one thing: the journey ahead was not just for the lost souls, it was a trial for their very own beings. Outside, the tempest raged on, as if the very forces of nature were preparing for a showdown. Just as a mask of silence draped over them, ready to unravel the next phase of destiny, Thoth uttered those chilling words that lingered in the air, thick as fog. "What you do next will alter the course of fate. Choose wisely." With those haunting words, the chapter closed yet again, leaving them staring at one another, cloaked in uncertainty, as the storm intensified with an insatiable hunger. What sacrifices would they be forced to make? And who among them truly had the strength to face the darkness? The tension in the air thickened, each heartbeat echoing in everyone's chest. Eyes darted, wide and fearful, reflecting the candlelight as they considered Thoth's ominous warning. Doubt hung heavy, almost palpable, like the humidity before a thunderstorm. A ripple of whispers threatened to spill over, but fear held them captive. "Sacrifice," the brave voice trembled again. "What does that mean for us?" Amidst the growing tempest outside, an answering chill swept through the room. Thoth's gaze bore down on the questioning figure, a glimmer of something ancient and unfathomable dancing in his dark eyes. A piece of yourself, perhaps a secret long buried, a regret unspoken, even a connection to this world that you hold dear. The shadows around him writhed, whispering secrets of their own unseen promises and threats, lingering touches of what had been. A murmur erupted, fueled by a blend of curiosity and horror. What part of themselves were they willing to sacrifice? Some stood still, paralyzed by fear, while others exchanged desperate glances, trying to gauge who among them would be brave enough to face such a fate. "Isn't it selfish?" A woman finally spoke up, her voice breaking through the chaos. "To imagine releasing burdens that weigh down our souls. What if their pain becomes ours? Or what if it saves them?" Another interjected, determination igniting within his chest. "What if we can rescue those who wander lost? But at what cost?" Someone chimed in, a quaver in their tone laden with worry. The storm seemed to howl in agreement, thunder rumbling like the ancestral voices of long-past souls warning them from the void. The air crackled, thick with indecision and rising tension. Thoth's stillness anchored the space. "You must decide quickly. The ritual cannot be performed in hesitation. Time draws near, and the lost await an answer." His voice was a powerful current, sweeping them along like leaves caught in an unrelenting stream. "The choice is yours to make." The crowd fell silent, hearts racing as their minds battled between hope and despair. What was the right decision? They were torn between the fear of the unknown and the desperate need to act. An undercurrent of anticipation rippled through them, an electric pulse that tethered their souls to the impending doom outside. As if sensing their rising anxiety, the storm intensified. The very walls of the room vibrated under the weight of their unspoken fears. Each flash of lightning illuminated flickers of doubt across their faces, bodies tense like coiled springs ready to snap. Suddenly, the candles flickered violently, and the shadows darted as if something unseen were breaking through. Just then, an eerie whisper filled the air, an echoed plea punctuated by the rolling thunder, "Help us." It was faint, haunting, chilling like a siren's song luring them toward the abyss. The crowd shuddered collectively at the voice, each pulse of fear mingled with curiosity. Who was calling? Were the souls crying out for salvation or revenge? In that moment of vulnerability, alarm seized Thoth's expression, his usual calm replaced by a flicker of urgency. "We may not have much time." He took a step forward, breathlessly leaning into the now palpable fear of the group. "Choose. Who will connect with the lost? Who will bear the burden of their pain?" The storm outside roared to life, echoing their internal chaos as the stakes reached a boiling point. Each person stood at a crossroads, hearts pounding, breath shallow. Decisions would be made, but would they lead to salvation or certain doom? And in that instant, before any answer could crystallize, a shadow shot across the room, coiling like smoke. The darkness seemed alive, hungry, searching, seeking. Was it just the storm, or something more sinister? Time was running out. The storm's energy swirled in tandem with their rising dread. Which soul would step forward into the depths of darkness, to face the lost and confront the echoes of their own sorrow? Those chilling questions hung in the air, dripping with possibility. The weight of destiny loomed ahead, and the journey was only just beginning. Silence enveloped the room as hearts thudded loudly against ribs, the only sound louder than the tempest raging outside. A figure among them suddenly took a deep breath, stepping forward with resolve. It was a man, face pale yet eyes fiercely lit like brimming embers. "I'll do it," he declared, each word carving through the tension. Gasps erupted from the crowd, a mixture of dread and hope palpable among them. Although they admired his courage, questions bubbled just beneath the surface. What compelled him to choose such a perilous path? Was it madness, or a deep longing for redemption? Thoth's penetrating gaze shifted to the volunteer, nodding with a grave acceptance. "Very well. But know this, the lost are not always what they seem. They may whisper promises of salvation or loom dark with regret. Are you prepared to confront the truth?" His voice bore the weight of ages, echoing off the walls that felt like they were closing in. "I am," the man stated firmly, although uncertainty flickered in his expression. A flick of Thoth's wrist summoned the shadows, and the atmosphere thickened with an ominous charge. "Take your place by the altar. Connect with the essence of those who call for you. Only through the sacrifice of your own truths can you intercede." As the man moved, the air seemed to thrum with energy, the shadows calling tighter around him. The room grew colder, breath visible as dark tendrils writhed, thickening into forms that danced along the edges of their vision. The storm raged, a violent symphony just beyond the window panes, urging them all forward into the depths unknown. With a trembling hand, the man gripped the altar, feeling the wood's rough texture against his palm. "What do I need to do?" he asked, a tremor of anticipation trickling through his voice. "Speak your truth," Thoth instructed, "your pain, your fear, and the burdens you carried. Let the lost understand the weight of your heart." A murmur swept through the crowd. Faces turned anxious, searching each other as expressions for solace. Just behind them, shadows whispered, the voices growing louder, more insistent. "Help us, save us." Their pleas twisted through the air like smoke, wrapping tendrils around the audience, linking them to the man before the altar. The man swallowed hard, his throat dry as sand. He closed his eyes, an inner storm brewing within him. "I lost everything," he choked out, voice cracking. "My daughter, I couldn't protect her, I failed her." Gasps echoed through the room. The revelation struck like lightning, illuminating their fears. The man's buried grief unfurled, heavy and suffocating as he laid his heart bare. The darkness around him stirred, drawn toward the raw emotion that filled the space, calling tighter as if to absorb each painful word. "Her laughter, her smile, they haunt my dreams," he continued, pain thick in his voice. "I thought I could save her, but I was too late. I am sorry, my love." Suddenly, shadows flared and thickened, swirling like a tempest around the altar. Faces formed within, fragmented and tormented. The air crackled with energy, a chorus of anguished souls rising alongside the man's confession. Thunder boomed, rattling the windows as if nature itself recoiled at the despair unleashed in the room. The shadows pulsated, gaining a life of their own. Fear wrapped around the witnesses like a vice, hearts racing as they realized he wasn't just speaking to save himself, but to awaken something deeper. "Join us." The shades wailed, voices merging in a chilling choir. "Help us find peace before the storm takes us." And just then, a piercing scream ripped through the atmospheric tension, compelling every soul around to freeze in terror. What had they awakened? What darkness lurked, waiting to be unleashed? The man wavered, caught between the living and the lost. The storm outside raged, mirroring the chaos inside. They were on the precipice of something monumental, something terrifying. What truth lay in the shadows that could save them all? And at what cost? As the storm raged, another cry pierced the night, echoing there. Collective fear and doubt. Would the man embody the courage needed to confront the lost? Or would he succumb to the shadows and let despair consume them all? The choice was no longer just his, but theirs, and the time for answering was quickly draining away. The shadows writhed like living things, twisting and calling around the altar with a spine-chilling hunger. The man's heart raced, thudding against his chest with the force of a drumroll leading to inevitable calamity. He opened his mouth to speak again, but the sound of thunder cracked overhead, drowning out his voice. The room shook, a tremor of dread coursing through every soul present. "Please, please, don't let them take me," a voice cried from the swirling mass of darkness. It was a desperate plea, raw and haunting. The man turned his head, seeking the source, desperate yet terrified to engage. Thoth's somber gaze rested intensely on the altar. "You must endure," he bellowed, his voice a whip-crack of authority through the stormy chaos. "No light without shadow, no salvation without sacrifice. Speak for the lost." A pulse of energy pushed through the crowd, an invisible shockwave that left them breathless. The air shimmered, thick with anguish and yearning, and the man felt a strange pull from the shadows, as if they beckoned him deeper into their realm. With a quivering resolve, he returned his focus to the altar, forcing the words past the lump in his throat. "I am here for you. I want to help." A cacophony of cries arose, a symphony of sorrow that resonated in equal parts desire and despair. "Save us. Save her," they begged, voices overlapping, a tapestry of pain woven through the storm. "Who do you seek?" Thoth's question cut through the confusion. "How does she call to you beyond the veil?" The man's eyes flooded with tears. "My daughter," he shouted, fighting through the writhing mist of despair. "I need to find her. I need to know she is safe." A shadow separated from the throng, coalescing into a distinctly feminine figure. She was ethereal, her features blurred but familiar. It was the outline of a girl, young and beautiful, life blossoming all around her. The room gasped collectively as a chill settled deep in the bones. "Daddy," the figure whispered, voice soft yet lacking warmth. "You came," he clutched at the altar, emotion ripping through him. We missed you so much." With each breath, the figure grew clearer, the warmth of memories swirling around her delicate shape. Yet, darkness clung to her edges, a reminder of the tragedy that had stolen her away. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her voice thick with worry. "You have to leave. Don't follow me into the dark." "No." The man's voice erupted, fierce and impassioned. "I want to abandon you again. I want to know what happened." Her image flickered, shadows pulling at her like insatiable tides. "It is not safe. You don't understand. There are things here that hunt." The sweeping wind outside grew louder, echoing her warning as a deep rumble rolled through the atmosphere. The man felt the room contract and expand around him, the shadows solidifying, forming shapes that squinted with malicious intent. "Join her," the voices coaxed, a haunting whisper that filled him with dread. "Let go of the living world. Be free." "Don't listen," the girl begged, her voice rising with panic. "Daddy, don't let them take you. You'll be forever lost, just like me." The shadows roared with collective fury, an angry sea that threatened to engulf the altar and everyone within its reach. The man felt the edges of reality fraying, and with each second, the pull toward the darkness grew stronger. "Stop!" he yelled, voice cracking against the torrent. The uncertainty flooded him. Could he truly save her, or was he foolishly stepping into a nightmare? Time slipped through his fingers, an hourglass running dry. Will you risk everything? Thoth intoned gravely, his expression inscrutable. Risk your very soul for one last chance at redemption? The room trembled as the shadows closed in, and the man stood at a crossroads. The haunting pull of the lost beckoned, while every instinct told him to flee. What truth lay hidden in the depths of despair? And could he ever reclaim the light, or had the past already swallowed him whole? The storm outside raged on, but as the last cries echoed through the darkness, the final question gnawed at his heart. Would he dare leap into the encroaching abyss? Or would despair claim them all? The wind howled like a wounded beast, forcing the man to brace himself as the shadows surged forward. Panic rippled through the gathered souls, their cries mixing with the tempest outside. He felt time compressing, the weight of the moment growing heavier. "Daddy!" The girl's figure trembled in the thickening dark. A flicker of light shone from her heart, dim yet insistent. "You can't let them win. I won't, I promise." He hurled the words into the abyss, his heart pounding against the stone. But as he looked closer, the chaotic energy surrounding him began to shift. The faces of the lost transformed, their eyes glittering with something like hunger. His heart fell into his stomach. They weren't just souls seeking salvation, they were shadows desperate for release, ready to claim him and anyone else who dared to tread in their domain. "You must find the truth." Thoth's voice cracked like thunder above the storm. "The path lies at the core of the darkness. Only then can you rescue her." A surge of determination filled him, but just as quickly, doubt clawed at his mind. What truth was there in despair? More importantly, what would it cost to confront it? The girl's form wobbled, emerging and vanishing with each pulse of shadow, her features flickering like a dying flame. "Please, you have to believe me." Her voice wavered, trembling between desperation and love. "You're my only hope. Don't let them take you." The man's thoughts raced. The connection between them was a flicker in the churning void. Images of her laugh, her smile flooded his mind with overwhelming grief. He refused to let her shadow fade into oblivion. The air around him crackled with energy, and instinct kicked in. He stepped closer to the altar, shaking off the voices whispering promises of freedom and release. "What do I need to do?" he shouted, addressing the swirling mass around him. "Show me the truth." There was a moment of chilling silence as the shadows recoiled, then erupted in frenzied laughter. "There is nothing to find." They mockingly echoed, their sinister whispers melding with the ragging wind. "Only endless darkness awaits you." But just as despair threatened to engulf him, the girl's flickering form surged forward, breaking through the barriers of darkness. "No. Dad, listen to me," she cried out, her voice resolving into a fragile clarity. "You have to trust your love. It is stronger than any shadow." The room darkened again, shadows writhing and retreating as if stung. With renewed resolve, he took a deep breath, feeling the warmth radiating from her even amid the swirling chaos. "I will find you," he vowed, the words burning with conviction in the icy air. As he reached forward to grasp the energy flickering from her essence, the shadows shrieked in protest, advancing like a wave. "Turn back. You will lose everything." But he pressed on, a fervor igniting within. With each step, he could feel the shadows writhing, their anger a tangible force against his skin. Closer he had to get closer. Suddenly, the altar pulsed beneath him, sending a shock of white-hot energy coursing through his veins. His heart thundered as a vision unfolded, a collage of images pulling him into a world on the edge of light and shadow. He saw himself, but warped, lost and darker, echoing screams vibrating in his chest. "Don't let fear cloud your heart," the girl urged, her voice trembling yet fierce. "Fight for me." The shadows twisted tighter, clawing at his resolve, shapes forming monstrous visages, each more grotesque than the last. Fingernails scraped like knives across his flesh, pulling at his very soul. But then he visualized the love they shared, an unwavering light in the darkness. Fueled by this connection, he lunged, aiming to grasp once more at that flickering energy. But the shadows screamed louder, a cacophony drowning him in dread, and suddenly, doubt seeped through his veins. Was he strong enough to face the darkness of his past, or would it consume him whole? A terrifying question lingered like the last echo of a choked sob as he stumbled closer to the heart of the shadows. The ground trembled beneath him. Would he breach the veil into the realm of the lost? Or would the abyss claim him forever? The moment his fingers brushed against the pulsing energy, a jolt raced through him. It wasn't just warmth, it was the essence of his daughter, strong and vivid, as if she were guiding him through an unseen labyrinth. The shadows flared violently, recalling, their laughter morphing into unearthly wails that echoed through the storm. "Do you see now?" a voice hissed, threading through the chaos. It was deep, otherworldly, resonating with a dread that squeezed his heart. "This is not your fight." But that flicker of his daughter's essence was like a beacon, cutting through the ever-thickening darkness. "Keep going. Don't listen." Her voice rang clear, an anchor in the storm's relentless tumult. It was a vital reminder that love, even when cloaked in shadows, held the power to illuminate the path ahead. He pressed deeper into the swirling mass, feeling the shadows lash at him with sharp tendrils, dragging at his clothes like claws. His heart pounded, not just with fear, but with an overwhelming urgency, the need to break free, not just for himself but for her. "Why fight the inevitable?" the shadows crooned, weaving their nightmare fantasies, hints of his past failures flashing before his eyes, moments of heartbreak, regret, and loss. "Those are not me," he shouted, the air crackling with electric defiance. Each step felt like pushing through thick, sticky mud, but he forced himself onward. "I define who I am." As he surged forward, the shadows writhed more violently, their shrieks clawing at the edge of his sanity. Twisted faces of lost souls swam through the darkness, mouths agape in silent pleas, yet their eyes shone with an airy blend of sorrow and malice. He felt their collective anguish, a tide threatening to pull him under, but the thought of his daughter anchored him. The altar pulsed again, vibrant and alive, revealing glimpses of immense power. Memories of laughter, joy, and all the moments they shared sparked like fireworks in his mind. "I see you," he roared, channeling the warmth from those memories into purpose. "And I won't let your pain bind me." With every ounce of strength he summoned, he burst through the oppressive wall of shadows, reaching for the light that shimmered from her heart, brightening the edges of the encroaching darkness. The shadows hissed in pain, as if they recognized the threat, breathing life into hope. Suddenly, everything froze. A spotlight of brilliance illuminated a path straight to her. He could see her fully now, her face, her laugh, unblemished, shining brightly against the dark. "But this is just the beginning," whispered a voice that erupted in his mind, a voice sounding so much like Thoth's. "Finding her is only part of the truth. You must confront what lies beneath your fears." The ground rumbled beneath him, sending shockwaves through the fabric of reality. What do you mean? He gasped, teeth clenched. What more can there be? Everything, echoed the shadows, ramping up their assault. You will face the worst of yourself, the darkest corners of your soul. He felt a shiver of dread claw up his spine. Just as he stepped forward, determined, the altar shattered with a wave of light, unleashing a torrent that enveloped him whole. In the swirling chaos of light and shadow, he felt himself unraveling, emotions spilling out, raw and unfiltered. Memories flooded over him, each one like a dagger aimed at his heart. How many times had he turned away? No. He screamed, his voice breaking through the cacophony. I will not be consumed. But as the shadows laughed and lashed out in a final fury, the blast of energy surged around him, pulling him into a spiraling vortex. Would he succumb to the despair that awaited him there? Or could he find the strength to unveil the hidden truth that might save them both? The world spun darkly, and as he fell, the last thing he heard was the echo of her voice, a haunting mixture of love and fear. Fight for me. And then, silence. The darkness whispered around him, a slick embrace that seemed to swell and pulse as his reality shattered. He felt torn between two worlds, the endless swirl of chaos and the distant flicker of his daughter's essence. A storm of memories erupted within him, clawing at his heart, each one a reminder of a choice made, a moment lost. Then, suddenly, the vortex became still. A thick silence blanketed him, pressing down like a heavy fog. He opened his eyes, expecting the shadows to encase him, but instead, he stood in a vast chamber illuminated by a haunting silver light. The air tingled with energy, sparking at his fingertips like static. Welcome back, a familiar voice echoed, reverberating around the chamber. It was Thoth, his enigmatic guide, eyes glinting with a blend of wisdom and mischief. You have much to learn. What the hell is going on? He shot back, fists clenched. The vulnerability of his earlier moment was stripped away, replaced by a sharp edge of anger. Where is my daughter? She isn't here yet, Thoth said, a slight smile dancing on his lips. But she is close, very close. You were broken through the barrier. What barrier? He paced, anxiety rolling like thunder in his stomach. The barrier between life and the truths you can't face, Thoth said. He gestured, and images flickered into view, moments of his life replayed in vivid detail. Each scene felt like a punch to the gut. There was the day he walked out on his family, the moment he lost his job and their sense of security crumbled, and every instance he ignored his daughter's cries for help, buried under his own tangled feelings. With every image, the shadows re-emerged, their laughter echoing in mockery. No, I don't want to see this, he mumbled, his heart racing as shame and regret crashed over him. But you must. Here lies the power to transform your despair into resolve. Thoth stepped closer, his presence grounding yet daunting. Facing these demons is the only way to free her. Free her from what? The question tore from him, fueled by a desperate urgency. From the confines of this realm. Thoth swept his hand, revealing walls filled with flickering lights. Each light seemed to pulse with a heartbeat. Every light represents a soul trapped in fear, longing for release. Your journey isn't merely to bring your daughter back, it is to guide them all home. Home? He echoed, disbelief twisting his gut. What do you mean? I can't save all these people. Thoth's gaze sharpened. You can't run from your own reality, either. Are you so blind to the power of love? It is the one force that can pierce the darkness and shatter the chains binding them. As the shadows writhed against the walls, he clenched his jaw, fighting against the tidal wave of memories and doubts. But I don't even know how. I am not strong enough for this. Strength isn't the absence of fear, it is acting in spite of it. Thoth's voice rose, resonating with an intensity that shook the chamber. You must confront what you're afraid to lose. You must awaken your true potential. Just then, a low rumble echoed through the chamber, the walls trembling as if alive. It is beginning. Thoth warned, energy illuminating his features. Prepare yourself. Prepare for what? Panic flooded his voice. The shimmering lights in the walls flickered ominously, trembling under wave after wave of dark pressure. Your own confrontation with fear. Thoth shouted. Fight for them. Fight for her. This is only the beginning. And before he could respond or process what lay ahead, the chamber erupted into brilliant light, colliding with the shadows. It drew him in, yanking him toward the chaos, and as he tumbled into it, the cold grip of fear returned, stronger and deeper than ever. What awaited him on the other side? Would he face the ultimate truth or remain trapped in his own cycle of pain? The blinding light swallowed him whole, an all-encompassing brilliance that felt as if it would melt his skin from his bones. He clenched his eyes shut, anticipating a fall, but instead he landed softly in a different place altogether. Cold earth beneath his feet, the faint scent of damp moss surrounding him. When he opened his eyes, he found himself deep in a forest, shadows stretching long under the glow of an airy moonlight. Trees towered on all sides, their branches twisted into grotesque shapes. The air was thick with the hum of whispering voices, faint at first but growing louder, filled with a palpable sense of despair. Each murmur sparked a primal dread within him. Thoth! He yelled, but the only reply was the rustling of leaves. Where are you? Just then, one of the shadows darted toward him, its form amorphous and wretched. A scream tore from his throat when it morphed into a figure, a woman, gaunt and hollow-eyed, her mouth open in an eternal wail. Help me! She cried, her voice laced with agony. I am trapped. You can't leave me here. A chill prickled his skin. What do you want from me? He stepped back, heart thundering in his chest. Free me! She begged, shackled by invisible chains that clinked and clattered as she moved. I am lost, just like you. He shook his head, retreating further. I can't help you. But the woman's agony dug deep into his conscience, a relentless echo of the choices he had made. His fingers twitched, the desire to reach out battling the overwhelming fear coursing through him. You can't ignore this. The chains rattled again, sending a shock through him. Face your fears. You can't keep running. Suddenly, the figure faded, swallowed by shadows again that cloaked the forest. Panic surged inside him. Had he just let another soul slip away? Was he becoming just like her, lost and forgotten, endlessly wandering in the dark? Thoth! Where are you? His voice trembled. The ground rumbled beneath him, roots shifting, creaking like ancient bones. Then a blinding flash cut through the darkness, and Thoth materialized, a beacon of ancient strength amidst the chaos. Every lost soul is a reflection of your own, Thoth said, his voice steady amid the turmoil. You cannot save others without first confronting your own pain. What do you mean? He spat, rage mixing with fear. You said I could guide them home. I can't even save myself. Exactly. You felt the chains that bind you. Until you acknowledge your own failures, these spirits will linger in this wretched place. Thoth's eyes bore into him, unwavering. To lead others, you must first break free yourself. The very ground beneath them trembled, the forest pulsating like a living entity. Suddenly, dark figures emerged from the shadows, gliding towards him, all the memories he had tried to suppress, all the pain he thought he could escape. Face us. They howled, voices rising in a cacophony of fear and regret. Face your truth. You're not the man you think you are. His breath hitched, each syllable thrusting him deeper into despair. The voices clawed at his mind, wrapping around him like a constricting serpent. No, he shouted, attempting to shut them out. But the shadows pressed in, their accusations sharper than daggers. You left. You failed. In that moment, something within him cracked wide open. A glimmer of understanding surfaced. Pain was not the enemy, it was the key. Fight. Thoth urged, as determination sparkled in his eyes. Transform your fear into strength. Only then can you rescue her. As reality twisted and spiraled, he took an unsteady step forward, heart roaring with fierce clarity. He wouldn't let his past destroy him. He had to confront each shadow, each truth that haunted him. But as he moved, a deafening roar erupted from the heart of the forest, as if the darkness itself was awakening, thrashing violently against his resolve. The cries grew louder, becoming almost unbearable. He braced himself, readying for the fight that was now unavoidable. The shadows encircled him like a whirlwind, a storm of his deepest fears waiting to unleash. Would he succumb to the past or emerge anew, fighting not just for his daughter, but for every trapped soul? In this moment of reckoning, he knew he had a crucial choice to make, but what if it shattered everything he thought he knew? The shadows loomed closer, their eyes gleaming with a desperate hunger, swirling in a chaos that felt like a tempest. Every whisper stung like a slap, echoing memories of despair, regret, and shame. Panic clawed at his throat as the voices twisted around him, reminding him of every time he had walked away, every moment he had been blind to the love that had needed him most. Stop! He shouted, grounding himself just as dark tendrils reached out, attempting to pull him into their vortex of sorrow. I will not be defined by my failures. The words rang out like gunshots, piercing the suffocating air. There was power in his conviction, a realization dawning that the truth of his pain could be a weapon rather than a chain. Thoth stood unwavering amidst the chaos, shoulders squared, eyes like fierce embers. Embrace it, he urged, voice surging against the howling winds. Your truth is the key to rescuing them all. The swirling shadows paused, hesitant for a heartbeat. Just then, the memories swirled forth like ghosts, untethered scenes bursting in vivid color, the laughter of his daughter, her tiny hands gripping his fingers, her innocent giggle like music. But then reality crashed back, heavy with the weight of loss. Searing guilt burned through him like wildfire. I've lost so much, he yelled defiantly, heart racing. A wave of dark energy surged forward. But this time he stepped into it, embracing the pain. Each step felt like a baptism of fire, burning away the layers of regret that had kept him trapped. I lost my way, he roared, the shadows recoiling momentarily. But I found my love again, it ignites the hope within me. The shadows writhed in chaos as his resolve ignited a flicker of light within the vast darkness. Let me show you what I've learned, he cried, letting the memories of joy pour out, each thought a thread of light weaving through the darkness, weaving connection. You are not alone. We can guide each other home. From the depths of the shadows emerged silhouettes, creatures that once were lost souls, but now grappling for a spark. Each figure twisted in agony, crying for vengeance and release. "Save us!" they shouted, melding into a haunting chorus that pressed against him from every direction. "I hear you," he roared back, a wave of warmth expanding from his heart. "Your pain is mine, but together we can find peace. I will not stand by while you suffer." He spread his arms wide, closing his eyes as the warmth blossomed around him, connecting each soul to his own through the bond of shared grief. A burst of light exploded from within him, cascading against the shadows, forcing them to shrink back as if stung by the brilliance of his emotion. The cacophony morphed into a symphony of moans and cheers, trapped souls finding solace in his raw energy. The connection forged a path through the thick darkness encircling them. "Hold on to it," Thoth cried, his voice rising like thunder amidst the chaos. "The truth shall guide you, and together we will pull them through." The shadows screamed, their wails merging into a haunting echo, unnerving yet powerful, an acknowledgement of the one thing that could pull them to freedom: love. And this realization struck fiercely within him. The shimmering essence of hope surged forward, embracing each lost soul like a long-lost embrace. All at once, the chains that bound the spirits began to clatter and shatter. "We can break free," they shouted, their voices rising in harmony with a truth they finally recognized. As he wove through the tangled mass of darkness, determined and fearless, streams of light began to emanate from those who had once been lost. They reached for each other, drawing strength from one another as if invisible hands were guiding them to step into the brilliance that he shared. The haunting cries dissipated into quiet, replaced by sighs of relief, eyes filled with clarity. He felt them drain from darkness, felt the warmth of body and spirit reach theirs. He turned and saw his daughter once more, her figure shimmering brightly against the shadows. "Daddy!" she cried, "you did it. You brought them back." "Yes." The certainty surged through him, and before he could question anything else, he stepped forward, embracing her shimmering form, feeling the warmth of connection flood through him. Weary together again. With tears in their eyes and fierce determination in their hearts, they reached for the light, a pathway that echoed with the harmony of newfound freedom. Suddenly, the shadows erupted in fury, the whispers turning to screams of denial. "No. You cannot escape. You belong with us." They attempted to pull him down again, their malevolence looming larger, but he smiled amid the chaos. "Love will always conquer," he shouted, drawing strength from those now beside him. Together, they surged towards the brightness, hearts alight with purpose and desperate resolve. The shadows clawed and writhed, but they could not hold against the power of collective love. Each lost soul and his daughter surged closer to the aperture, the light growing brighter, the darkness receding like the ebbing tide. "What is the cost?" a voice whispered from the depths, an echo of unseen dread, but he pushed it aside. "Everything that binds us," he shouted. "We release ourselves from the ties of anguish and regret." And just like that, with one final cry of unity, those seeking both redemption and peace tumbled forward into the light, ripping through that veil of despair, emerging into the warmth of freedom. In an explosive conclusion, he suddenly found himself not just in the forest, but now back in that room where it had all begun. The storm outside had ceased, and he stood surrounded by specters of souls now freed. "You've done it," a voice crooned in awe. It was Thoth, pride shimmering in his eyes. You were chosen light over darkness, love over fear. The shadows had waned, leaving only the mist of what had been. Each soul around him, including his daughter, radiated with relief. Thank you, Daddy. She beamed, love echoing in her voice. Together we will shine, forever, he replied, feeling the weight of despair lift, knowing they had all faced the darkness and emerged into luminous grace. The storm had faded, the room filled with whispers of gratitude, and in the sweet silence of victory, they felt the warmth woven in their bond, brighter than the sun's embrace. And as they stood there, shadows behind now merely reflections of lessons learned, they knew they would face tomorrow together, facing life fully, unafraid forever. Intertwined amidst the eternal dance of light and shadow. Now, this is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will unveil even more truths. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the magic happening. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this climactic ending. Your voice matters. And listen, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Only true fans understand the gravity of supporting the channel, and you are part of this amazing journey.